During my time abroad, there were a bunch of places that I wanted to go that I couldn't get people to go with me. Maybe it was for financial reasons, maybe they had another trip booked. For whatever reason, there were a couple places that I went alone. In fact, during my time abroad, I went to 18 different places that you can see on screen right now by myself. And for 14 of them, I was actually by myself the entire time I was there. The other 4, I was alone for maybe a day and then with someone for another day. So clearly, I've done a fair bit of solo traveling, and I wanted to give my pros and cons to that for people who may be thinking of going out and doing it on their own. First, though, I must acknowledge my privilege as a man. In this situation, traveling by yourself as a man is very different than traveling by yourself as a woman. So if you're a woman thinking about doing solo travel, feel free to watch this video because there are stuff that's relevant for everybody, but I know that it is different, so take everything with a grain of salt. And on that note, I'll get into my first con of solo travel, which is safety. Now, I am very fortunate that I am here, safe and sound, after months abroad, and I had no safety issues while I was there, but you never know what's going to happen. And when you're alone, you're definitely a bit more on edge and worried because you have no one with you watching your back, and you're obviously a bit more of a target if you're by yourself. Now, most of the places that I listed and I went, in fact all of them pretty much, I felt completely safe by myself, but I also am not the sort of person to stay out super late at night or put myself in a situation where I'm going to be more of a target. I was in the busy tourist areas during the peak daylight hours when there's plenty of other people around, and then I would go back to my hotel. And once again, I acknowledge that as a man, this is very different than for women, and women may not feel safe at some of these places. I just don't know. That'd be a question that you can, Google online if you're curious to go to any of those places and ask other people who may have done the same thing. The first pro of solo travel is that you get to make your own schedule. You don't have to talk to other people to decide what you're going to do. You can decide for yourself. You decide when you want to get up. You can decide when you want to go to bed, where you eat, what things you do, etc., etc. And honestly, that was probably the best part. I did plenty of traveling with people, and I never really had any issues deciding what to do with other people, especially since the people that I traveled with often agreed with me, so there was really no disagreements there. But there is something to be said for having no worries about whether the other people that you are with are enjoying the activity. I know I'm someone that if I suggest an activity and I have other people with me, I'm constantly worrying about whether they're enjoying it as much as I am, because the last thing I want to do is ruin someone else's trip. The next con is kind of a minor one, but it's that there's no shared expenses. If you're booking a hotel room, you're booking it for yourself. You're not splitting that cost with anyone. And there's some other things, littler things. The hotels are a big one, but there's some littler things like appetizers at a meal and stuff like that that you're paying for everything yourself. Obviously, that's how most things are. You're paying for your own food, you're paying for your own tickets, etc. when you're traveling with people. But there are some things that when you travel with people that you can cut down on costs a little bit, and you obviously can't do that if you're solo traveling. But in that same regard, the next pro is that you can control your own budget. You don't need to worry about the unspoken awkwardness of whether someone else is comfortable paying for a nicer dinner if you want a nicer dinner, or if someone else wants a nicer dinner and you don't want to spend that much having to be the awkward one and saying, guys, I don't know if I can afford this place. Same goes for tickets for museums and stuff like that, or deciding like, I don't care enough about this museum to spend my money on it, etc. When you're by yourself, you can control your own budget, which is really easy because you know how much you can spend and you don't need to worry about anyone else. The third con is unfortunately just a very real part of it, and that's loneliness. I'm very blessed that I got to travel to all the places that I did, and I wouldn't trade those experiences for anything in the world, but there were times where I would really sit back and just say, man, I wish I had someone here with me. The first example that comes to mind was being in Dublin on St. Patrick's Day. It was a ton of fun. I really did have fun. But I can only imagine how much more fun it would have been if Leah was there, or if my friend Kevin was there, or if I just really had any friends there with me to talk to and share that experience with. It's one of my favorite parts of traveling, is sharing those experiences with people. And there are definitely times where you sit back and you're like, I'm lonely, and I wish that there were other people here with me to share in this with me, and so that I had someone to talk to and share a meal with, etc. But on the flip side of that same coin, it does force you to interact with other people, because humans are naturally interactive creatures. We want to talk to people, we want to reach out, and some of us are introverted. I often am a very introverted person myself, but I tried really hard when I was solo traveling to put myself out there. There were a couple instances that I can think of during my time abroad. Particularly ones that come to mind are my night in Munich before my girlfriend Leah met me there, my time in Dublin for St. Patrick's Day, my time in Dubrovnik, Croatia, where I just met people and I hung out with them and I made new friends and I interacted with the locals. I talked to my waiter more lengthily in conversation at dinners like I did in Krakow, Poland with my amazing waiter at one of the restaurants I went to. And being by yourself forces you into those situations. It doesn't force you. Like, obviously you can just keep to yourself if you want to, but it definitely more encourages you to reach out and have some of those experiences. And those are some of my favorite memories from my time abroad, is meeting those local people, meeting people, putting yourself out there, talking to new people. It's a lot of fun, and when you're by yourself, you're definitely more inclined to do so. So overall, what do I think of solo travel? Well, my number one piece of advice that I would give is that if you have a place that you want to go to and you don't have anyone to go to with, as long as you feel safe doing so, and that's a key disclaimer, as long as you feel safe doing so, go. There are ways to meet people once you're there. I promise that doing things like eating at a restaurant by yourself isn't that bad. I ate at a restaurant in Dubrovnik and I made a lovely conversation with the people next to me. They were from the Netherlands and we talked for the whole dinner. They were some of the kindest people I ever met, and they were on a date night together and they were so interested in my life as an American living in Europe at that time, and then vice versa, that they didn't mind talking to me. I talked to them and it was amazing. So again, as long as you feel safe doing so, if you have the financial ability and want to travel somewhere but you don't have anyone to go with, just do it. That's my first piece of advice. However, know that it does come with some consequences. You may be lonely at times, especially if it's a longer solo trip. You may become bored from time to time because you have no one to talk to, especially if you're struggling to meet people, and it's okay to put yourself out there and to talk to new people and to struggle to have a connection with any of the locals, especially if there's a language barrier. I was lucky that a lot of the places that I went, I either spoke the language, for example, small towns in Italy that I was by myself where I spoke the language, or the places were big enough cities that the people spoke English. But I think solo travel is something that's really interesting because there really is no clear position on it. I've done it a fair bit at this point, and I don't really have a yes, it's good, or no, it's bad. I think it's just a complicated thing that might be worth doing at some point in your life if you have the ability, because it is definitely a good situation to learn more about yourself and to put yourself out there. However, now I've done it. Am I going to go back to it? Am I going to do it again? I'm not sure. Again, if I have a place I really want to go to one day and I don't have anyone to go with, maybe. But as long as I'm living in the United States, my trips abroad are going to be more planned, longer experiences that hopefully my girlfriend will be able to come with, or I have friends that will come with, or something like that. That's going to do it for this video though. Thank you guys for watching. There'll be more videos coming soon. But as for this one, thanks again.